In this episode, we strip away the myths regarding the Dalek Supreme to reveal how one man in the shadows influenced Dalek mythology, and how Terry Nation struggled with children, crime, and Tony Blackburn to protect his most popular creations. In episode 2, we looked at Terry Nation's Special Daleks, and we promised that in a future episode we would reveal the surprising truth about the events surrounding the appearance of the Dalek Supreme in Planet of the Daleks, and shatter the myths regarding this peculiar prop. There were 4 Special Daleks owned by their creator, first seen at his mansion in Linstead in 1967. Whilst they appeared to be movie Daleks, which had starred alongside Peter Cushing in Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, forensic analysis of distinguishing features pointed to them having originally been built for the earlier stage play Curse of the Daleks, and they were only borrowed for their big screen appearance. The unusual appendages needed for the live performances also explained the oddities which were seen in the second film. In episode 5, we discussed how the revamped theatre Daleks were put up for sale when the production finished, at exactly the same time that Terry Nation was attempting to procure props for his spin-off TV series featuring his creations, pointing to the fact that these 4 Daleks which were kept at his home were the ones lined up to star in their own series, which never came to fruition. Nation utilised the Dalek Outer Space book to cross-promote his proposed new TV show and strengthen the audience's familiarity with his properties, reinforcing aspects of his creations which had not featured in the parent programme Doctor Who. As we investigate the later lives of these unusual casings, we found that this practice is repeated, as Nation seemingly tried to create a separation between the Daleks in spin-off media and their use in the Doctor Who TV series. One example that emerges is the use of a red Dalek. A red Dalek had first been shown in the comics, and later in the movies. Nation then wrote a red Dalek into his pilot script for The Destroyers, and the Dalek that he owned was repainted to become red, notably different to how it had been in the Daleks Invasion Earth. Obviously in the black and white episodes, the alien hierarchy could only be differentiated in monochrome terms, but in the comics and on film there was an opportunity for bold primary colours. In the Daleks Invasion movie, as well as the addition of the red and gold Daleks to the on-screen ranks, the black Dalek from the TV series was nearly expunged from the big screen adaptation. The draft script for the movie specifies that the third of the new coloured ranks is, in fact, purple. This would have removed visual similarities between the film versions of the Daleks and the Doctor Who TV series, had the decision been final. Meanwhile, as Doctor Who transitioned into colour on television, the bright liveries were nowhere to be seen. The drones were painted from silver and grey to dark grey, and the leader was initially supposedly gold, although more like beige, all of which choices were made by the production team rather than the scriptwriter. For the programme's third and Nation's first colour use of the monsters in Planet of the Daleks, the writer actually specified in his script that the Supreme Dalek was black and gold. To portray this character, one of his 4 special Daleks was employed, and it was generally believed that Terry Nation handed over one of his casings to the BBC, who painted it black and gold just before it went in front of the cameras. This is not true, and the complexities of the situation were quite a surprise to unravel. The prop also draws attention due to having jam jars for lights and a domestic torch for an eye. Similarly, it's usually assumed that these odd modifications were performed by some under-pressure visual effects designers ahead of recording, but again this assumption is almost certainly wrong, as the trail of evidence reveals that strange things were happening to these Daleks before they appeared on television. So if these modifications weren't all made by the BBC, then what was the driving force, and when did they come about? Although Nation had 4 Daleks, undoubtedly these 2 were more well known than the others, due to their prominent appearance in this Radio Times photoshoot to celebrate Doctor Who's 10th anniversary. This beloved special issue would have a lasting impact for many years, not just because of the photos, but also because it gave readers the opportunity to learn how to build their own Dalek using plans supposedly from the BBC workshops. And in their suggested colour schemes, they gave the traditional grey, the new Dalek Supreme recently seen on TV, and the Dalek with the red top from the photographs taken with Terry Nation. The pictures or the plans, or a combination of the two, were used by fans as reference material in their building projects for years to come. But it didn't stop there, as this reference material was then given to licensed merchandise companies, most famously in a Weetabix giveaway, where these collector's cards faithfully recreated the two Daleks photographed with Terry Nation for Radio Times. Dennis Fisher made a toy of the red top Dalek, even though it was not a colour scheme from the TV series. These are all much later examples, but the earliest sighting of this pair was in Countdown Comics. So did the artist Jerry Haylock also see photographs of Terry Nation's props, just like the later merchandise companies? Or was something far more interesting happening? Fortunately for this investigation, fellow fans have supplied enough photos of Terry Nation's special Daleks for us to build up a timeline of events and settle an array of old questions. And we discovered a previously unknown crisis that changed the course of events prior to recording of Planet of the Daleks. So, we'll go back to the beginning, when Nation had just acquired his 4 new friends. As stated previously, the earliest known footage of the 4 Daleks is from Wicker's World in 1967, and the Daleks remained unchanged in the years that followed, as covered in episode 2. In January 1972, the strip Sub-Zero was printed in Countdown Comics, featuring a black and gold Dalek, alongside a silver Dalek with a red top. The artwork by Jerry Haylock was the first time this pair had ever been seen. But could it have been drawn from real-life props? These photos from 1972 confirm that when Jerry Haylock was working on his strip, the Nation props remained in their Wicker's World colours, proving that it was the comic artist who first created both these iconic Daleks. But there's more to the Countdown link. The following issues, printed in March and April, ran a strip called Planet of the Daleks, in which the Daleks were seen roaming through the jungle. This featured a black and red Dalek, also never seen before. And, just as part 8 of the strip called Planet of the Daleks appeared in newsagents, Terry Nation was formally commissioned to write a story outline for Doctor Who's 10th anniversary, and he borrowed the title Planet of the Daleks. The story title would briefly change to Destination Daleks before changing back. Here's the Wicker's World Red Dalek, still unchanged at Woolhampton Primary School. Alongside it was the less frequently seen 4th prop, which we distinguished due to its silvery sheen on its neck section. At the same time these pictures were being taken, on the 22nd of May 1972, Nation was just getting stuck in to crafting the new Doctor Who script. Countdown Comic had in recent months launched series based on 2 of his properties, The Persuaders and The Daleks, and it was obviously a publication the writer had close at hand. As he came to write his draft of episode 6 towards the end of July, he decided to implement Jerry Haylock's depiction of the Dalek Supreme from the earlier strip, Sub-Zero. But the influence of Sub-Zero extends somewhat further than the colour of the Daleks. The panels depicted the aliens in ice tunnels, and the Doctor and his allies infiltrating the Dalek base to destroy them from within. At a stretch, there's even imagery of military might vanishing within the ice flow. In Nation's script, one conspicuous line of dialogue raises a delightful point of conjecture. The black and gold Dalek is said to be one of the Supreme Council, which was the first time it was ever specified on screen that the Supreme wasn't a unique individual. Is it possible that this is the hint of a notion to feature other special and more colourful Daleks? The script indicates that the Supreme brings with him an aide. Could this provide a tantalising clue that perhaps Haylock's red top was being considered for a television appearance too? Regardless of the final outcome, we do know that the comics became the template for repainting, so that one of Terry Nation's 4 casings could be used in the forthcoming Dalek serial which he was scripting, and he most likely took a modest fee for its use too. It was this Dalek with the silvery neck, which had been photographed in May in its original Curse of the Daleks and movie colours, which was promoted to become the Dalek Supreme. And here it is a few weeks later at St Nicholas School Fete in Redhill. Also present is a prop which was barely glimpsed in the Wicker's World footage, which remained in its 1960s colours a while longer. The poor condition of this top section is due in part to its punishing time as a stunt Dalek in the movie, where it was hit by a van and flung down the ramp. It's distinguished by its unique feature of having 3 rivets on this slat behind the gun box. Since its earliest sighting after the movie, the gun and the arm had been swapped over. The next picture confirms the creation of the red top before the end of 1972, and its identifier is the telltale long slat over the gun box. Callum Church had secured this Dalek for his school's autumn fair, however he was given mismatched halves, and the skirt is that of the red and black Dalek, still unchanged from Wicker's world. But then, disaster. In November, John Pertwee used his friendship with manager of rock group Deep Purple to arrange recording of his own single. It was a series of verses about the time traveller spoken over a version of the Doctor Who theme tune. As a publicity stunt to promote the song, they arranged for the Daleks to protest the pop career of their arch-enemy, and so once again Terry Nation's props were drafted in. Here Radio 1 DJ Tony Blackburn joins in the hilarious fun. On the left is the newly repainted top half, now black and gold and dreaming of stardom on television. It had been selected because it was in the best condition of the 4 Daleks. It required new lights to be fitted, and it was provided with these rather amazing additions, which are a tiny bit reminiscent of a design tweak applied to show the supreme status of the leader Dalek in 2008. Alongside it is the top of the stunt Dalek, with its distinctive 3 rivets seen here. The gun is still on the wrong side, but now has a strange appearance. This is a result of the way the spokes were created on the original guns. As a clever shortcut to avoid adding intricate metalwork, the spokes were actually silver stripes painted onto the surface of transparent discs slotted down the length of the barrel. This illusion works fine until someone thoughtlessly resprays the gun wholesale, at which point the discs become solid, as seen here. Another curious design choice has been made on this Dalek. A domestic torch has been implemented for the eye, but it's hidden by a new, larger eyeball. It could be a complete coincidence, but at the start of the year, the Radio Times had run a competition for which Terry Nation had, somewhat mysteriously, supplied the prizes. They were 2 large Dalek toys, complete with steering column, tape recorder voices, and a torch in its oversized eyeball. It's believed that these were prototypes for a new product, likely to have been produced in collusion with toy manufacturer Fred Alper, the man who had offered financial backing to the failed Destroyer's spin-off pilot. These mini Daleks were given the version number the Mark VII as a reference to the character from the unmade show. Perhaps this was an attempt to create visual harmony between the less accurate toys and their fully grown counterparts. Or maybe this is a case of finding patterns in things that aren't there. But nonetheless, the stunt Dalek's dome was now refurbished with a protruding torch eyepiece. The lower half on the right is still red and black from Wicker's world. The skirt on the left is the debut of another colour scheme, first devised by Jerry Haylock in his artwork for the comic which was entitled Planet of the Daleks. Unfortunately, due to the colourblind swapping going on, the newly repainted black and red top half was absent that day, but through a process of elimination we know which unusual prop it would be: the Wicker's world red and silver section, now repainted, given jam jar lights and a torch for an eye. The skirt of the prospective Supreme Dalek was also present, for some reason paired up with the red top, and this is where the good-humoured publicity stunt turned sour. 2 of the Daleks were stolen from outside the record company offices, and whilst one of them was recovered, the other was not. This photo with Tony Blackburn was the last sighting of the gold and black top section, which was being lined up to appear in Planet of the Daleks. But the sections had swapped around again in the moments before the theft, and it was taken along with the bottom of the red and black Dalek from Wicker's world. On the 5th of December, script editor Terence Dix wrote to Terry Nation regarding the upcoming production, in which he noted that if people will just stop pinching your Daleks, we can get the show on the road. As a result of having lost the top of his gold and black Dalek, a replacement was needed to quickly complete the Supreme. The red and black one with the weird neck section was chosen and quickly repainted to match. And so, after a failed attempt to prepare a first prop, this second version was what made it before the cameras in January of 1973. It's reasonable to assume that the torch eye was never meant to be quite so conspicuous, given its counterpart had the same feature disguised, so the Supreme probably had lost the ball for the end of its eye. Although the work diary of visual effects designer Cliff Cully reveals his notes ensure he had gold paint handy, the fact there are 2 different shades on screen suggests he was only doing retouching rather than giving it a brand new paint job. After recording was complete, the Supreme was returned to Terry Nation, and when these props were not roped into more publicity work, they were stored in an outhouse at Linstead Park, as seen here in photographs taken by Mark Sinclair. But then a surprising thing happened. Despite now being world famous due to its appearance on television, this incarnation wasn't allowed to remain for very long. After being used here to publicise the Sittingbourne Post Service, along with the Red Top, this visit to Parkwood School in Rainham, Kent, was the last known sighting of the Supreme in July of 1974. Curiously, after this point, it was repainted back into its Jerry Haylock colours, another subtle hint towards the idea that Terry Nation wanted some Dalek designs to exist in a bubble outside Doctor Who, and once again, the colour chosen was red. It was in this livery that it received even more exposure in November 1974, alongside Trevor Martin in the promotion of the stage play 7 Keys to Doomsday. 2 photo calls were held outside the Adelphi Theatre, and aside from the new colour, it was generally an unchanged top section, although now paired with the black and red skirt seen with Tony Blackburn. Alongside it, the top of the stunt Dalek had been repainted to match, so now 2 casings bore the Jerry Haylock colour scheme from the comic entitled Planet of the Daleks. This prop now had the repainted Supreme skirt. The following year, Terry Nation produced his children's book, Rebecca's World, named after his daughter, and as part of the publicity, he was photographed alongside a red and black Dalek, which was the top of the former Supreme and the skirt of the stunt Dalek. Also in 1975, the same combination appeared at the BBC Roadshow. The year after that, photos taken at Swale Motors in Sittingbourne show the Supreme, Red Top and stunt Dalek all in attendance. The Red Top's shoulders have now been painted black. In 1977, one of Terry Nation's Daleks returned to TV, but this time on the commercial channel. The mixture of the former Supreme's top and stunt skirt were paired up again, but with a refurbished dome and the return of the ball covering the torch eye. Inside the Dalek, and providing the voice, was veteran operator John Scott Martin. Just like the black and gold Supreme, which seemed to become undesirable to Nation once it had appeared in Doctor Who, this black and red Haylock colour scheme would filter into the public consciousness too, and be embraced by fans and merchandisers as another acceptable design. In December 1977, Selfridges on Oxford Street hired Terry Nation's 3 Daleks to promote their Christmas toy fair, and one of the red and black Daleks can be seen in this clip. Rumour has it that this promotion resulted in the theft of one of them, leaving Terry Nation with just the red top and one of the black and red combinations. The pair of Daleks were donated to charity when Nation emigrated, and when the charity closed, one of them went up for auction. Photographs taken before the auction revealed that this prop in its latter years had had one final repaint inspired again by Jerry Haylock, based on those same comics from 1972. The props that Terry Nation owned had embodied a determination to give the Daleks a life away from Doctor Who, from their very origins, built for a stage play which didn't feature the Time Lord, to their refurbishment in the independent TV spin-off. Throughout the decades of publicity that followed, they were always given colour schemes which flew the flag for the merchandise, from which Nation drew a healthy 50% share, rather than the designs from the TV series, which saw him paid a tiny fee per episode. As much as Nation's work built the Daleks into a cornerstone of Doctor Who, he also strove to make them, and therefore himself, independent from that show. And whilst he never wholly succeeded the way he wanted, his efforts gave the Daleks a self-contained mythos which is separated from their parent show in a way that no other creation has ever quite achieved. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched and enjoyed our crazy research project. We've been doing this for 15 years and it's amazing to share what we've learnt and get such a positive response. We will still be posting videos, but these will be bonus content and snippets rather than full episodes because I need a holiday. Plans for Series 2 are in the works, and if you'd like to help shape what we do and get behind the scenes info, progress updates, freebies, all kinds of other stuff, we'd love to have you on board at our Patreon, which is linked in the description. So thank you all very much, and I will see you soon.